Are we on?
You're on.
All right, we're here with Bill Gates. Welcome. Thanks for coming on Channel 9 again. It's an honor to have you here. So, what I want to ask you is, you run Microsoft. You're a chief software architect. You understand everything that's going on.
Not really.
Okay. You're married, father. You know, philanthropic activities. How do you stay sane? How are you able to manage all of this, all the things you have to do?
Well, I spend a lot of time making sure I'm spending my time on the right things. Technology helps a lot. You know, when my kids go to bed, I write long emails, and on weekends I can go from playing Zoom on Xbox Live to going up and writing some paper about software strategy to go down and playing in the trampoline room all within the course of an hour. There's a lot of things I don't do. I get to watch TV, basically. A little bit of DVDs on the treadmill, where I got addicted to the 24 TV series. That was good. But I do some things that are intense, like Think Week, where I'm just off for a whole week, reading things, thinking through what's going to happen in the next 5 or 10 years. When I travel, I do a lot of email the whole time. So it all works out, but I'm careful about my time commitments. I even have Steve Ballmer come in and critique if he sees anything on my calendar next year he thinks I shouldn't do. He gives me that input, and I do the same for him, because it's really easy to commit to things, particularly out in the future, that aren't the most important things.
Interesting. So I hear you're going to be in Vegas in March.
That's right. We're getting web developers together. It's called Mix 06, and we're going to have a lot of new things there in terms of runtimes and tools, and just looking at the whole level of expectation about how the web should work, both in terms of the much better interface, much better services, the degree of improvement across the board, whether it's just the presentation piece, data management, integration. Users are expecting a lot, and we're trying to give people tools and runtimes to make that easy.
Outstanding. You're going to give a keynote on
Right, I get to kick the thing off Monday morning, and I'll have people there for a few days. I'll just, I think, sit on a stool. I'm not going to use PowerPoint, just talk about some of these changes that are taking place.
Excellent. So, what would you say to people who may question Microsoft's commitment to the browser after multiple years between releases?
Well, we're certainly doing a mea culpa there, that we feel bad that we weren't more aggressive doing releases. Now, part of that was the incredible focus we've had on security, really getting that architecture right, even coming up with this concept of what we call low rights IE, so that when you have a control come in, it's running in a different context than general code would in terms of what it can access on your machine. That's a pretty big change, a very important change. So I'd say people may underestimate how hard those changes are, how important those are. But even given that, in terms of end-user features, we have not moved as fast as we should, both in terms of how we layer things and we prioritize things. Starting with the IE7 advanced, people will see this year, both for down level and as part of Vista, you're going to see very regular activity there. We're not going to let things in terms of end-user neat things stay as much the same as we did these last couple of years.
True. So, back on IE, why do you think it's taken so long for DHTML and asynchronous JavaScript web requests to catch on? They've been around for a while, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was a great thing when it got put in, the DHTML mall that let you do the things, the fact that JavaScript ran pretty reliably on the client platform. And it is surprising to me how long it's taken people to say, okay, given that we can put a little bit of logic there, how do you minimize those round trips? How do you make that screen painting be more like you could do locally? Now people have woken up to that, and it creates a phenomena. Even within Microsoft, we've seen it in many places. We have our info path group essentially did this. We had our Hotmail group essentially did it. We had our Excel group in terms of promoting a spreadsheet do it. We saw our MSN sites beyond Hotmail doing it. And so we brought it together in terms of a runtime to make it easy for people that we call Atlas. Doing these things right in terms of the asynchronous nature and how you cache these things and debugging it, it's fairly hard. But with the right tools, this stuff will become just very, very standard. And so here at the Mix 06 thing, we'll have Scott Guthrie there really talking about how he's looked at all these groups, both inside Microsoft and outside, and seen what they've been doing and figured out how to create a runtime that makes this very doable in a very rich way.
And that would be Atlas.
That's Atlas, yep.
Outstanding. So on Channel 9, we go around the company, we talk to architects and engineers and all different classes of people. We recently interviewed some Windows architects working on the kernel core team. And during the course of that, they mentioned that you like to say if you break compatibility, you're throwing away an asset. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, it's an incredible thing that you can still take a program that you would have run on the original IBM PC back in 1981, and you can plug it into Windows and run that. It's not that a ton of people do that, but just that commitment that as people invest in buying applications, knowing applications, not just commercial applications, the thousands of applications that get written inside a company that the company may not even have an inventory of, that we're going to keep those running. Now that can't be an absolute thing because you move forward with rich new capabilities and security, things like that. Sometimes you have to partition those applications off and not let them get access to new capabilities. But compatibility is a huge benefit. If we said to people that what you've learned about Excel, you had to throw that out, or your applications, or how you navigate the system, you had to start over, that would be a huge drawback. So in terms of testing for compatibility, that's something that Microsoft is very unique at the complexity of doing that, and yet the value that provides to people. So we think hard about any change we're going to do that affects the base of software that's out there.
Excellent. So Office 12 is a major release. Lots of changes, lots of really innovative things. What excites you most about Office 12?
Well, it's hard to pick. There's Office 12 has got more sexy new stuff than any release we've done for ages and ages. You just take the diagramming in PowerPoint or the visualization stuff they've done in Excel. It's across the board a pretty amazing release. The thing people notice first is the new user interface, that it really lets you get at features in a way that the menu structure was holding people back. You will find features in there that, because you don't use them very often, you just weren't seeing those. And so I think that will be the first thing people go, wow, what a risk they took, but what a great improvement that is. I'd say the second thing they'll notice is the role of sharing, that documents on SharePoint, where you can really have collaboration and workflow, that SharePoint will become on the server what Office is on the client, that you can kind of assume people know the templates. If you're organizing a new project, it's kind of common sense. You just pick one of those templates, get people working together using that. We've never had that in collaboration. We've had email with attachments, but never a place where you could have rich behavior and sharing, where new people could come in and see the history, and people could come and look at it as often as they wanted, but not get their inbox flooded. So that's very big. I think the final thing, and in the long run maybe the biggest thing, is what we've done with extensibility. Office extensibility used to mean that you would kind of program against the user interface of the application. So take Excel, you'd kind of think, okay, how do I move the cursor around and do selection? How do I use these commands? And as we change that command structure, that could affect your application. Now, because of the XML revolution, the Office is, every release, and we've seen this in all our products, we sort of go through three things. We put XML sort of at the outside with converters, we put it kind of in the middle of the product, and then we put it at the core of the product. SQL went through that in 3 releases. Now Office is in that third release, where literally the format of the documents is XML. And what that means in terms of getting data in and out of these documents or spreadsheets is that you don't think about the application, you just think about the named range and the schema. And so it's just like a data artifact. It just makes it so much simpler. And so we finally have gotten to the point where people doing solutions in just a few lines of code, they're moving very complex data in and out of Office applications. So that may be the biggest thing, although it's hundreds and thousands of customization applications, not one single one where that'll show its value.
Outstanding. So since we're in the web age, what's on your IE favorites? Like, where do you go? What does Bill Gates do on the internet? Inquiring
Well, I love the privacy of the internet, so I won't tell you everything. I use, I've got a personal email account up on Hotmail. I'm out, Engadget's a place where I learn a lot of stuff, news.com. I have a lot of people who send me links, throughout the company where somebody's finding something new and hot. I did a review recently of all the video sites out there, and it really blew my mind. I knew about a few of them, but there's dozens and dozens. The whole idea of video on the internet, which we started betting on with our Microsoft TV thing way too early, over 12 years ago. But now it's becoming real, whether it's delivering to the PC or through the IPTV stuff we're doing with people like AT&T and Bell South, actually to the TV set very directly. And so this idea that it's not just telephony, but it's also TV, and not TV as we used to know it. TV with interaction, personalization, without this channel concept, with a total choice of what you want, including, the physics lecture that you're the only one who cares about, or the local high school team that, very few people would want to watch. It's a revolution. And so I try and go to a lot of those websites and get a sense of how that's changing. When will video be a very big part of the experience? There's so many dreams we've had about the web that still aren't there. When you want to shop for books on the web, I love Amazon. I buy a lot there, but it's still kind of this textual thing. It's not like walking down the aisle in a bookstore. Well, there's no reason that we have the richness to do that kind of visualization. It's a small software problem there. So finding those avant-garde websites that are starting to play with that, even though a lot of them won't be there forever, is something I try to get in my experience. A lot of it's mundane, Wall Street Journal, New York Times. I'm tracking the stuff that's there as well.
You mean you don't have time to watch all the Channel 9 videos?
No, I'd probably learn a lot, but I wouldn't want to intimidate anybody. But no, I get links from Channel 9, and it's great to see. The traffic is phenomenal. It's a phenomenon.
Yeah, thank you. So, what would you change in the world if you could, and how would software play a part with it?
Well, software is so core to things we really care about. When we say, kids start out being curious and having all this potential, and why does the education system, whether it's in the U.S. or the world at large, do such a poor job of tapping into that and challenging them and keeping them interested? Why is math so boring? Well, if a kid cares about construction or even mountaineering or art, there should be some way of taking those things they care about and saying, okay, well, that means you need some numerical concepts and measurement and things, so it makes it interesting to go and learn all that stuff. It's really kind of taking the word software in a broad sense, that kind of interactivity of, okay, what do they already know? Let's not repeat that. What don't they know? Let's make that clear. Education is awaiting to be revolutionized by a combination of redefining people's roles and using software. Healthcare, there's all this data out there about outcomes, of what works, what doesn't, genetic data. It's a software problem to take that and use that to create these inventions, new drugs and appropriate ways of treating various people based on their profile. And we need that not just for the rich world, we need that for all the diseases that are being ignored, that are the big disease burden as well. So when I get to see things like blind people sitting there in Internet Explorer, the way we've done the accessibility, accessing all that text out on the internet where they used to get just a few Braille books, just super expensive, super late, you can start to see a glimpse that software is just at the beginning. Yes, it's changed music, but it hasn't changed video or TV yet. But in the next 10 years, it will. The whole idea of buying, do you always get the best deal, know the best price, get the best recommendations? No, today the market's imperfect in that sense. And there's so many great people out there taking software on the internet, sometimes building on our stuff, sometimes not, but taking commerce and making it work better for the consumer. And we're just really at the very beginning of that. The crazy dreams of the late 90s, the dreams weren't wrong. The notion of what type of software tools and payment infrastructure, trust infrastructure, data infrastructure, protocol infrastructure, there just weren't the right software foundations for building those things. And now's the time that people who take the long-term view of, including us and others, have really started to put those things into place. In a more mundane thing, you can say, what about all the IT work that people do, setting up systems, monitoring systems? Why can't software change that? Take the applications for two different banks. How many lines of code does it take to describe why this bank is different than this one? Well, today it might be millions of lines of code that's incredibly expensive, bug-ridden, and flexible. Why shouldn't it be more like just thousands of pages of model description that really is more semantic about, our credit approval has more steps in it. Very easy to modify, very easy for people to understand. Well, that's a software problem that in the next decade will solve that problem. Reading off the screen so that you can annotate and share it with people. We need a little bit of help from our hardware friends to get the perfect tablet device, but beyond that, it's a software experience that it's easy to find anything that you care about. So we have all these dreams about software, and it's very exciting to think how far we're going to get towards achieving those, even in 10 years.
Outstanding. Well, thank you for your time, and it's been an honor, pleasure to have you on Channel 9 again. I hope to see you again soon.
You bet.
Thank you so much.